Is she? I don't know.
Asa versus Jig. That one's a lot more. I can get that one.
It's a very clear, concise message we got here. This is, in fact, Asa versus Jig. We are off. Any predictions for a weapon here? Hi.
Hello, Uncle. Hi, and welcome to your death. Well, no sword. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Burna. You know, I hate it, but it's the most common, it seems.
Alright, well, I am gonna go with the sword. How about that? All in. Very early map check. Got crystals at Eastern and Hera, and a red crystal in the desert. Well,
That's the right shape, anyway.
wrong color, but I'm sure both these runners will be happy with that compared to Burna. Smarish is such a nice item.
Yeah. I'll take Samaria over Burna any day. It's easier for farming here, and it's also an actual progression item that you're going to need at some point.
Yeah, it's very true. Of course, the cane of Burna can be required for a few things, which can have progression, but it's never progression really itself. So, Samaria, on the other hand, is one of those items that's going to be required an overwhelming percentage of the time. So it's always good to find it as soon as possible.
Yeah, even if you don't end up needing, to do Turtle Rock or Misery Mire, you still need it for right side Ganon's Tower in case the key's up there. So you're most likely going to need it for something. I like the cane in particular because once you get the boots, the cane has the coolest swag. Those cane throws, dashes are just really neat.
They're very difficult, but they are very cool as well. We see Jighart picking up some pots, throwing the guards, trying to get that bomb drop. Ever so important to get at least one bomb on your way through here so you can get the 3 items in the back of escape. You don't have to come back for them. It's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, you get 4, but 1 is the minimum. And we've been through these seeds many times by now, so we got the bomb farming routine down. I like that we get some variety here. Both players using, pushing the block instead of exploding it to save some magic.
Yeah, it does do damage as they run into it, as you can see. Eventually that will pop after it does so many hits, but until then, it's a very good weapon. You can pick it up and throw it. It's very versatile.
Yeah, the exploded form only does fighter sword damage, so being able to get a few extra hits in there by pushing it or throwing it, it's not quite as much fun as freezing a guard and throwing the guard around them.
You have to be careful of that because sometimes, for example, if you have ether in this area, this is from old versions, but sometimes if you throw the frozen guard into a frozen ball and chain guard, the ball and chain guard will go into Zelda's cell, and you can't actually kill him.
Oh, but that's so fitting. The tables have turned, ball and chain guard.
What are you gonna do now? You can't do anything. You just have to reset. Sorry. But nothing else exciting really in Escape thus far. Just a little bit of money, a few pieces of art.
Yeah, it's not worth the time really to farm anything off those blue guards. Most likely they'll end up getting knocked into the pit after you've sunk 3 or 4 hits into them already.
Yeah, now we're getting to... Ooh, there's her bomb. Yeah, that's very good. So it's also getting the bomb.
It's always a little bit of a gamble. Do you spend a lot of time farming green guards? Do you spread out your damage a little bit into the different prize pools and do rats and bats a bit? I think that was probably the last green guard either of them were going to kill.
Yeah, not many between there and the sanctuary at this point.
Yeah, just the one beneath the one that dropped the bomb. So, anybody in chat here a particular Jighart or Asa fan? Is there like a Team Jighart and Team Asa going?
I think so. They really piled in right before the race started, so I'm sure both these guys have a number of fans. Jighart down to 1 heart. Thankfully, there's not a lot of danger in this escape. Rats do so little damage to you. You gotta be really reckless.
Yeah, you could just be really conservative and just hide behind a Samaria block if you have to. Down the 1 heart's a little bit dangerous, but he gets his key, and he also picked up a 4 bomb earlier, so he's really good to go now.
Yes, and he just has to not walk into his own bomb in this room here, and we're good.
Oh, it's a rat gauntlet there.
They were trying their hardest. 301 rupees.
I can't say I agree with Jighart's waste of a bomb this early in the game.
Well, I guess he did just get 300 bucks, so that'll buy you a lot of bombs, but that money is still pretty precious at this point in the game.
He still has the 30 that he needs to make it all the way down to the bomb vendor without any backtracking. So he's having a little fun, but ultimately not wasting any time. The sword there is basically going to make up for it, though.
The Holy Sword in Sanctuary. Wow. Would have been nice to have that a little bit before that point, but still good now.
It's like a French vanilla sword, as the saying goes. It's close enough. So with the sword in hand, they don't really have to worry too much about the cane being their source of weapon, or bombs for fighting through mini Moldrum caves, things like that. They just need to maybe buy 1 more set of bombs. Then we'll be done with that for the game. But hammer there, that's a second item.
It's also a pretty good weapon there. Asazas did opt to come up here to check the Lumberjack Cave. They didn't have any bombs, so I assume the lure of the tree pool just said, maybe I'll get a bomb and I can check Lumberjack while I'm there, but just a small difference.
Yeah, you could do two tree pulls. I mean, the first one is your tier 2, and then either the tier 1 or the 3, depending on how many enemies you end up killing up here. Only having the cane, though, it's doesn't really make a lot of sense to farm 4 enemies for that tier 3 prize, especially when they're all randomized anyway. Isa not checking what the tier 1 prize is, though. Hammer's really nice. I like this. This is a good start. They have both the sword and the hammer, so they have general purpose damage, but they also have like the big guns they can pull out if they really need to take on a boss.
Yeah, if they ended up going to Hera before getting their sword, then the hammer makes a big difference in the Moldrum fight, because he doesn't go crazy. Hell. Wow.
A little bit less of a difference now between Master and Hammer versus Fighter and Hammer, but Hammer's still stronger, doing tempered sword damage.
It is.
Of course, I feel we're going to get the tempered sword by the end of Kakariko at this rate.
Pretty good pace for swords thus far.
So Isa's kind of working his way up from the bottom here. Had to buy bombs. Jig was able to save 3, so he can just do everything from the top down and save a little bit of time.
And there's our fire rod. And our flippers.
All right, well, those open up a lot of spots. That opens up Hobo. We can see the Hylia Island. We can get 4 items up in Zor's domain now, and they almost have enough money as well. By the time they get there, they might have the 500 rupees to buy the Zora item.
Yeah, if Mini Moldrum Cave has some good money in it, I don't see any reason not to go ahead and grab that. Not a whole lot else we can do right now.
Yeah, the fire rod, though, in particular, is really valuable. I mean, not only does it, open up progression in being able to clear Skull Woods and Ice Palace, but it's also the ever valuable fire source. One of Ace's earlier races, he did the entire game without the lamp, so you can definitely play without the lamp, but you cannot play without the fire rod.
It's very true. You need at least one thing that can set things on fire. It's very important in this game. You set things on fire quite a bit. Well, we're rounding out Kakariko about now. Still not really an obvious direction we want to go, except for South Shore.
Yeah, the library item here being a heart piece, that's not a good sign. It's really nice when you see a required progression item there, like a glove upgrade. You're going to be getting boots early on. Just a heart piece. You could have a bootless seed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just knowing where your required items are can make a huge difference, especially, like I said, if it's in a bootlot location. Ooh, well, that's a little annoying.
Yeah, first bottle, right at the end of Kakariko. Jighart took the gamble and went right for that item. Asa, unfortunately, having to backtrack there, so that's a slight advantage for Jighart. The gamble paying off.
Yeah, it doesn't usually pay off, but when it does, it's a nice little small time save.
And opting not to go up and immediately turn the Cicada in, probably hoping to pick up the flute or something else to also do in Kakariko. Make that trip worth a while.
Either the flute or the mushroom. Maybe you can loop in the fake powder there as well. There's a bunch of small things.
Yeah, mushroom or the actual powder would be nice as well.
Yeah, that'd be good too. But Asa is not taking chances.
Yeah, if this is something that gives him a mobility advantage, like the flute or the boots, that'll be a massive time savings. Come on, sick kid.
Oh.
Yep. 3 bombs. Jighart also finds 3 bombs at the dam and opts not to pick them up. So Asa presumably will be down here South Shore as well, following right behind Jighart.
Mini Moldrum Cave, will you have our progression today? Master Sword also makes this room very simple.
Yeah, there's not actually that many locations where sword beams are great to have. That's one of them. And wow.
Okay then. That's our Dark World access.
Yeah, Dark World Cave. Either of those items would have been nice, but getting them both in sequential chests, damn.
Yeah. So Jighart did opt to skip the Flipper's Lock locations and Ice Rock Cave for now. More interested in getting the Stark World information, probably a few checks down here.
Yeah, I think he's going directly to Hype Cave, and then from here, maybe it'll be a westward trek over to Digging Game. Not going to be able to progress past Digging Game into Village of Outcasts from that particular route. Maybe he'll head north and do Pyramid Catfish. That tends to be a route some runners like to do early in the game now.
Yeah, it does tend to get delayed by quite a lot, so if there's something there and your opponent puts it off for a while, it can give you a nice advantage that way. We did see our red crystals were at Skull Woods and Turtle Rock. And the green pendant is at Misery Mire.
With any luck, you'll be able to still manage saving Turtle Rock for last and never having to go to Pyramid Ferry. A bomb boost there makes Turtle Rock 1/3 accessible.
Yeah, we are getting there. So as soon as we find, I guess, our in logic Dark or Death Mountain access and the mitts, either the hookshot or the mirror, we can get there. You gotta be thinking about it early.
Yeah, that's a risk for doing this early Dark World dip, and I would say I would consider it early at this point. You're giving up the eastern area items, Ice Rod Cave, and the 5 Zords area items that are now in logic with those flippers. If either runner were to have done those, and the mirrors over there, that'll make all their Dark World routing much more efficient. We saw Jighart and presumably Asa next both have to skip Cave 45 due to the lack of a mirror.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. I guess at this point, it's a smaller risk because when we get the mitts, we might end up doing blacksmith anyway, and that's sort of on the way there. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, mitts is another item. Would have been nice. Jighart could have just continued directly north into Village of Outcasts instead of having to save and quit. If he had picked up the mitts. We'll have to wait to see where they end up hiding. Ace is following at his path. Jighart maybe is going to do the Zor checks now.
It does look like it. Has a nice 744 rupees. Burning a hole in his pocket, I guess.
Yeah, and then unless Asa wants to do Northern Kakariko, I don't know if he has a better option as well. He can full clear Skull Woods if he wants to. That's Crystal, and he can also get everything out of Thieves Town. So there's definitely good alternate options.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being something that Azas would want to do. Right now, it's a teensy bit scary, I guess, just because we have 5 hearts and green mail. We do have a bottle that can kind of help if we fill up with like red potion or whatever, but still, it's not what I would call like a safe number of hearts and safeties to tackle a dungeon that's kind of unpredictable, like Woods and Thieves Town can be.
Well, Asa's down to he plays mostly Z3. He's got a sub 130 NMG time, so he's someone that you can definitely say is comfortable playing the entire game in green mail. Probably has the blind fight completely scripted. You are used to going into Skull Woods though with Tempered Sword in that scenario.
Yeah, well, as this is showing that confidence now, heading straight in here. Ooh, free blue potions today.
It's probably the best thing you can get from those fairies. Nice 160 rupees saved.
Definitely the most useful potion. Hello, Ether.
Very generous on medallions today so far. So he's not going directly into Skull Woods. Looks like we're going to do Village of Outcasts and probably Thieves Town first. Thieves Town is a pretty easy dungeon. Once you've done it quite a few times, it's probably the easiest Dark World dungeon to do.
Yeah, it certainly can be. There are a few screens in the dungeon that are kind of scary. And the grasshoppers, of course, the RNG with those, because they do 2 hearts of damage. You have to be really careful how you approach them, but in general, it's probably the easiest dungeon in Dark World for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely the easiest boss fight to do with low equipment if you're well practiced on it. You can consistently do that fight and never take any damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as this is coming down here, gonna use the shop that a lot of people don't use to buy the spread potion. I approve. It's a very, very convenient spot to stack up on something you're gonna need, because these dungeons can be deadly if you're unlucky.
Yeah, he could have picked up a shield there for the low price of 50 rupees, but opted not to. No love for the shield today.
Not today, unfortunately. I think if you get this shield anyway, it's not like an upgrade to your next shield that you find logically, right?
No, your next one would still be the fighter shield.
Yeah. While the fire shield is kind of useful in this dungeon sometimes, but yeah, just not worth the $50.
Yeah, I wouldn't have recommended anybody actually buy it. Just fun to joke around with. It would be nice though that if the progressive shields gave you this, this fourth shield that was like some kind of like impenetrable bubble around you.
The butter shield, yeah. It's
The
like the
butter
mirror
shield.
shield, but it works from all angles.
Exactly. That would be great. The butter shield. But
Why not?
just like the mirror shield though, it's exponentially more lagging. You're invincible, but you can only move it at 20 frames per second.
Oh man. Yeah, we're digging in Skullwoods now. Looks like Jighart is coming up here to Skullwoods first.
Yeah, this is a pretty aggressive play. Only having the 5 hearts.
Yeah. Did get a free blue potion, which maybe that factored into it because the blue potion refills your health and it refills your magic, and the fire rod happens to be you got Titan Smiths.
Titansmiths is that's really nice. That's going to open up, like you were saying earlier, the blacksmith's chain in Thieves Town. Nothing else in that area immediately, but just being able to get hammer pegs done. Grab a smith if you're going to be coming back here anyway for something else. It's convenient.
Yeah, but also it does open up Ice Palace. I think there's a chance logically that the Ice Palace is hookshot locked at this point, but we can definitely get in there. Oops.
Not a bad place to take a death. Once you're in the dungeon, especially near an entrance. Though not having gone out and back in, though, unfortunately, that's a long walk back.
It's a bit of a walk now. It's just one of those scenarios where you come into Skullwoods with low hearts. It's very easy to die, which can cost you small bits of time. It's not like the end of the world, but
Yeah, so I would have doing the Skullwoods isn't completely surprising, but I would have expected Thieves Town Village of Outcasts first, just in the hope that you'll pick up some extra health, maybe Tempered Sword, maybe a mail upgrade to make Skullwoods a little bit easier. It's definitely the more difficult of the 2 dungeons.
yeah, I agree. Usually, that would be my priority, just because I kind of need those safeties, but ooh. Speaking of digging into Thieves Town, there's a shovel.
Yeah, no love there with the shovel. I would imagine if I'm Asa that I'm gonna probably try to wait until I get a mirror and do a K45 shovel, maybe at the same time I'm doing purple chest, if at all possible.
Yeah, that'd be a really nice and efficient route. I guess it's just a question of when you find the mirror.
That's the problem with the mirror. It's if you really want to find it, anytime before you go in the dark world is fine. It can be the last thing you find, but once you've done these initial checks, you essentially never want to find the mirror now, because all it does is add in locations. With Swamp being a pendant, having a mirrorless seed would really be optimal for the runners.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still something you gotta worry about, though, because this mirror can be in a lot of places, and these mirror locations do not get any more convenient to check than now, if you can, which we can't.
Exactly. Early mirror is fine. No mirror is also fine. A go mode mirror is great. You don't want to find it right after you've done the other graveyard checks or the other Southern Dark World checks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no real value in Thieves Town there other than the crystal. Pretty clean blind fight from Asa, and looks like he's heading up to Skullwoods now.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. I think it's a little unfair to say there was no value in Thieves Town. We don't know what the shovel hides. It could be amazing. It could be an amazing item.
That's a good point. It is a deferred item, so you kind of have to wait to see what the value is. But there is something a little bit insulting about getting the shovel. So regardless of what it is, I'm gonna say its value has been diminished.
Well, you gotta look past the surface, man. Come on.
I can't do that when it comes to the shovel. I'm sorry. It's not so bad with the mushroom. At least if you get the flute, that's a quick turn in. This could be a fluteless seat as well, though, with Meyer being a pendant.
Certainly could be, yeah. Azaz does have a red potion, and a bit more hearts than Jighart had when they came in here, so I don't expect many problems heading into the back here after we clear out the front side. It's always interesting to see which order, when you come into Skullwoods intending to clear it, if you start from the back or the front, which choice the runners like to make.
Well, in a Jighart, I guess went to the front. Probably didn't have any intention of actually doing a full clear. He's also doing the front. I think if you're intending to full clear the dungeon, it is more efficient to start from the back.
Yeah, I think there's scenarios where it is more efficient. There's also scenarios where it's not as efficient, but yeah, I don't know. Usually there's just one item in the front and one item in the back. Doesn't actually matter.
Well, Isa is heading to the back. He did the front checks, but he's going for Mothula. So if he's able to pull this off with the limited health that he has, and this will be a second crystal for him. Oh, Mario.
I love the sprites in the Rando.
Yeah, the whole randomizer community has pretty much shown what we think about copyrights, I guess.
It says it's wanted to spend a little extra time in this room to pick up some extra resources, but I ended up taking a few hits in a fall. Puts him right back where he started. Gonna use this bombos to clear out these Gibdos. There's really no time-efficient way with the items we have right now to really deal with them. Like, we can stun them with the boomerang, but if they get stunned in a spot where we're going to shoot them with fire rod anyway, it doesn't really help us. And there's 4 of them.
Yeah, an extra small magic pot there is going to let him go into the Mothula fight with 7 shots. Ooh, just misses the big pot there. That would have been nice. You can actually, if you really, really take your time there, you can go in and kill all the Gibdos with your sword, and then backtrack to the previous room and pick up the magic pots. And you can actually go into this fight with full magic if you have the lamp.
Let's see how this does with this fight. This is a very unpredictable fight. Mothula does not take damage from the spikes, of course, and it's just a very chaotic room in general. I honestly think this is probably, depending on your equipment, the hardest boss fight in the game. Vitrius is a close second, potentially. But Azaz just cleans it out, no problem.
Well, I'd say Mothula is probably a fight that NMG helps you with the least. You're used to coming in here with boots and tempered sword, being able to get a quick kill with those items, a lot more health. Doing it just with anything other than what you're used to, just the randomness of that fight makes it really, really tough. And he pulled it off really nicely.
Jighart's down to 1 heart. Has to be very careful. Very smartly killing this red horsehead, because he has a tendency to walk into the cell and shoot fireballs at you. It's very hard to avoid that.
Yeah, unfortunately, no powder. Powder would have been great in that room. There's a bunny beam under the pot, which with only 7 hearts would have been a full health refill. But there are a couple single hearts into the pots there, so at least you got something. And as long as he's careful with his blind fight, I mean, like we saw from Ace's side, you know, it's a pretty consistent fight. If you've practiced it, you don't really have to take any damage.
Yeah, even if you're not super practiced with the fight, like if you're new to Rando for whatever reason, there's a lot of items in the game that make it a little bit easier. Like the Scan Samaria will damage blind, so if you're careful, you can use that to set up, take some damage on him. Let's see how Jighart's fight is, though.
Nice phase 1. Good setup here for a quick phase 2. Ooh, take a hit.
Probably very happy that he turned in that empty potion bottle.
Wow, yeah, that potion, I'd say it was worth the cost, but it was free, so...
It was worth the cost and time, because walking back into Thieves on the fight blind again and filling up the potion bottle, it's nowhere near comparable.
Issa just also got a blue potion. This might be the first time I've seen both runners check what the free potion was.
Yeah, I guess it's good to do in situations like this where you potentially might need it. Like we're looking at Ice Pass right now. That's something that SS might end up doing, and blue potion, even a green potion, would really help there in a lot of ways. So very understandable.
Well, I'm not super psyched about the situation Jighart finds himself in right now. He's heading back up to finish off Mothula, but no longer has that potion, so this could be a really difficult fight.
Yes, it absolutely could be. It's not looking all blue, I guess, for Sonic.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to make the attempt.
Yeah.
Maybe even a second attempt if it doesn't go your way, but you don't want to risk going on tilt this early in the game.
And if you bash your head against Mothula, that's a very easy way to go on tilt in this game. So somebody who's been there has that effect.
But he knows there's one item left in this dungeon, so if this is, he got the mitts in Thiefstown. If Skullwoods also has the progression, he might not want to risk leaving it behind. You really called that. Issa is going to ice. I would not have expected this play.
Yeah, it's one of those dungeons you like to put off as long as possible if you can, but I mean, we don't have a lot of great options right now from that perspective. This is always going to be required, and even if logically it requires the hookshot, we can get around that with bomb jumps. So coming in here, clearing it out, and getting the extra crystal doesn't seem like a bad idea at all.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen any of the really easy checks. Like, we haven't seen, the Genus Cave one-off, Ice Ride Cave, Sasharalis Hut, Eastern, like all these really early easy game locations. Let's watch Jighart and see how he does this with his Mothula. He's going in with full health, and he had 3 fire rod shots.
So far, so good, looks like.
4 fire rod shots.
There we go.
Nice.
Hammer does help a lot. Hammer, of course, does do Timber Sword damage. It's a lot harder to use against Mothula, unless you can get above Mothula, then it's pretty easy. So well done to Jighart.
Yeah, very, very nice there. It only took one body hit and then 1 spike, I think, or maybe it was 3 spikes, but only 3 hearts of damage.
Potion did not end up mattering, so Jighart tying it up as far as our crystal count goes. Where are you headed now, Jighart?
I think he checked the bumper ledge already on his way out of here the first time.
I think you're correct. Yeah, I wonder if he's running all the way to Catfish. That'd be a little weird, but Oh,
That would,
maybe he's doing the blacksmith chain.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe he'll grab the smith and do a save and quit. There's not really anything else for him to do. He did the southern route already. So if we had the mirror or the hook shot, then I definitely would have expected a sequence break up the Death Mountain with so many items and the Titan's mitts in hand now. But without those, we would just be limited to the one item up there.
Yeah, we could grab the old man, but that's not, of course, not in logic right now. We could grab the item inside of Spectacle Rock and get information, I guess, on what's on top of it. But other than that, there's not a lot to do up there.
Yeah, without the flute, it's not even that valuable a save and continue point.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's a very, very long walk back out from Death Mountain without that flute.
So Isa doing the really smart route here, found the small key in the freezer room, went back up to take the door to get these right side chests. This lets him skip having to bomb jump across the hookshot locked section, which is, it's not the most difficult bomb jump to do, but this is definitely faster and easier. And you want to save all the health you can in this dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree there.
This is our first Smith check, and this was a big time investment for Jighart, so let's see if it pays off.
Equipping the hammer for good luck, I guess. Oh. Never actually seen that quote before.
I'm sure I've never actually talked to this guy before.
It's actually very inconsiderate. We take him back, I guess. We get the item, but we don't see how they're doing. Like, are you hurt? Was your time underneath the library, I guess, harmful to you in any way? Do you need help?
Oh, he's doing the shovel spot. Okay, that makes sense. So I like this route Ace is taking to the iced tea room. This also saves him a little bit of time on another bomb jump or having to fall down and then climb back up. But just gets a compass.
Yeah, so getting a little constrained in where our progression can be right now. I think Jighart is also heading over here to Ice Palace now. I expect...
Yeah, with the... Sorry.
No.
Alright, so we're seeing our eastern area check. The shovel didn't pay off, and he's already here in the light world, so maybe maybe saying, okay, I'm not going to do the nightmare of a dungeon that is Ice Palace.
Yeah, and this might actually pay off. I don't think we've seen anything in Ice Palace that's really been worth the effort quite yet. Let's see. No. No.
41 rupees is not the progression that we're looking for at the moment. That is our second single rupee in the game, though, so we have both of those out of the way.
Oh boy.
That means it has to be good stuff from here on out.
Sure.
We found both green rupees and the single arrow, so the trash is gone. But, oh god, poor Asa, falling down here. Has bombos to get a couple fire rod shots in, but a 2-heart Master Sword Cold Stare fight?
Yeah, so a Cold Stare does 4 damage if you touch him in green mail. Have fun.
Oh, he's got that blue potion, so that lets him burn him down.
Will help a little bit. Oh boy. It's better to get hit by the ice in this scenario than a Cold Stare.
I think he's fine now with 2 puffs down. It's not hard to avoid the 4th. One strategy that's really nice with Cold Stares, you can just hug the top wall and the ice blocks won't hit you. With 1 puff, it's pretty safe.
Yeah, getting down to 4 hearts here, that's the danger zone right there, but does finish up the boss. And that's crystal number 3.
So a key there in Cold Stare tells us that the game intended that to be a Samaria locked Ice Palace. Not an issue how early we had Samaria, being our Uncle weapon, but it's always good to know.
So I think, as far as Eastern goes, we've seen 10 arrows and some form of heart, and that's it so far. I'm not. So what's this just gonna be? It's gonna be the map. I don't think we've seen the big key, so whatever is in the big chest is lamp locked.
Yeah, Jighart's going to have to go all the way around to get the big key, and then continue on to actually open the big chest, which could be the bow. So we could actually finish the dungeon if we get very, very lucky. But it won't be the lamp, like you said.
This is also coming up here now. Makes sense to do it in this order. This is a very dense location, and since we don't have the mirror, going into pod first would require us to save and quit to go into Eastern, so you just gotta do Eastern first. Just how it is.
So if he does want to do pod after Eastern, I guess a Death Warp is probably your quickest way to get there.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit quicker than actually turning around while trying to walk up the dungeon. We have green mail, so it shouldn't be too hard to die.
Yeah, and there's a lot of skeletons that show up once you open this big chest, so there's no shortage of enemies.
Yeah, this is the party chest right here. It's gonna save and quit though. So that's all 3 items in Eastern, so Eastern is unfortunately a bust.
That's not so bad. You can save it for for last if you need to. Route it in with pod later on. Just pick up the crystal later on once you find the bow.
Yeah, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and Asazas is also making the same place, so it's not really a waste of time in the grand scheme of things because the time will even out as they're both doing the same thing. So, are we going to see a Death Mountain?
This is a graveyard ledge check.
Okay, so we're seeing him run up here to the lumberjack. This is interesting because we don't actually have.
I mixed it up. My apologies.
It's fun. It's just 50 rupees here, but it is interesting to come here now because we don't have the lamp, we don't have the boots. So even if that was something, we couldn't really do anything with it. But I guess it's good information to get while you're up here anyway.
Yeah, the weird thing about that spot is, people will check it immediately coming out of Sanctuary, or they'll check it when they get the boots and they're doing, bonk rocks. It's rare to see it checked at any other time, but sequence breaking up the Death Mountain, I guess, would be another good option.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. It's some information you can get, and information is pretty valuable in this game.
Jighart is... I think this is a pretty desperate routing option because, both of these items, and there's only 2 that he's going to be able to get, are out of sequence. Unlocking the save and continue point's nice because you're not going to have to make this trip again. But he's really trying to avoid, Ice Palace or a pod dip.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because it's looking like it's going to be pod or the Old Man Desert at this point. It's going to have our next progression.
If we find the bow up here in Spectacle Rock Cave, or the mirror, that's gonna, that would make pod a little bit easier. This could pay off as time savings, but there's not too much. Silver's on the ledge. Nice to know.
That is good information to have. It's a very convenient spot, in fact, for those. Alright, well.
So no hookshot or mirror, so nothing else, no way to continue there, and I guess he's probably heading down to Ice at this point. Asa finishing up Eastern. I can't imagine Asa is going to go up the Death Mountain, so maybe Palace of Darkness after this? What do you think?
Well, Palace of Darkness, keep in mind that I think both of these runners get the Ice Ray Cape as well. So I think that's still in play, unless I'm horribly mistaken.
they both did skip it. They both also skipped the Genus Cave, and that's where Jighart is headed. Asa's going back into the Dark World. So we get to see the ledge item here, just 100 rupees. We can't get that. And we can't get into Desert, but we can get this one item in a Genus Cave.
Certainly can. So this might be going to the pyramid, maybe up to Catfish, or to Pod. It's hard to say.
I think probably Pyramid. I think you're probably right on that. If it was just Pod, then Death Warping out of Eastern and just walking straight down might have been a faster option.
Oh man. Just Big 20, Mr. Guinness Cave.
Yeah, it would have been really nice to find some big progression item there. Lamp on the Pyramid, that's nice. That's going to make Palace of Darkness pretty easy. Lamp's essentially an optional item once you get the Fire Rod. They definitely don't need it.
Yeah. And that does logically open up a bit more of Pod as well, depending on if it's Bill locked or not. It's probably not at this point, I think we can safely say, but who knows? Maybe the bow is a Catfish.
Well, Asa never refilled his potion after clearing Ice Palace, so he will not be able to potion glitch past the Bowlock section here. If we don't find a key on the left-hand side, he's going to be stopped after one item.
Yeah, I think that's actually okay in this situation. If Pod's Bowlocked, then okay, you can just leave, and you're going to need the bow anyway. It doesn't really help you as much to sequence break those chests, and there's maybe a chance you can skip them anyway, but just knowing if Pod's Bowlocked is very valuable, and especially when we're running out of locations to check.
Yeah, I mean, I'll disagree with you on that one. I think
Okay.
if you're going to go into a dungeon, even knowing it's going to be a double dip, you still want to get every item you can while you're here. But that's definitely a personal preference thing.
Well, we are not Bowlocked, so no goo glitch required today.
It looked like Jighart was going to go into Ice, but he's doing Ice Rod Cave instead. He really wants to get all these out-of-the-way locations. Gambling these early on made a lot of sense with the early Dark World access, but at this point, I think checking them is a fair play.
Yeah. Let's see what we got today. Blue Goo. Which, that's okay. That's a decent runner-up price, I would say.
Normally I'd agree with you, but with Blue Goo being the free potion, it's a little bit less valuable than it otherwise would be. It's still nice to have a second potion, though. So, Ice Palace now, Jighart?
There's our Quake, so whatever Turtle Rock ends up being, once we get some way to get over there, we can go inside.
So I think with the cane and all three medallions, at this point, you kind of want this to be a fluteless seed. You don't want that green pendant Misery Mire to call to you.
No, you certainly don't. You absolutely do not want to see that. Mystery Mire's not a fun dungeon when it's not required.
Yeah, and with Desert being a pendant as well as Swamp, you want this to be a bookless, mirrorless, fluteless seed. just don't give us any reason to go into that area.
Yeah, that would be ideal. So as far as things we're actually missing, we can get into GT as long as we find the bow and the ice rod, and I think that's it, right?
As far as getting into GT is concerned, yes. The bow and the ice rod is all that we need. We'll need the hook shot in order to logically complete the dungeon. without hovering, and we may need boots in order to get the big key if it's on the torch. But this seed is looking to be very light on required items.
Yeah, and of course, hookshot, as you said, can be NGT. There's the, well, it
Or-
can't be now.
Or it could be right there, yeah.
Could be.
That works too.
Just right there. So that is pretty big, because that is our Dark Death Mountain, all of East Side Death Mountain, logical, illogical, physical, spiritual access to everything over there.
Yeah, the lamp puts access in logic, and the hammer and the hookshot gives them access to physical access as well as access to Hera now. So that's the Hera crystal. That one's an easy one. The TR crystal. Oh man, that can be brutal because Ice Rod can be anywhere in the game except Trinex or Ganon's Tower.
Yeah. I guess at that point you just hope it's in Tower of Hera. But I think when you go up there, you're going to Turtle Rock regardless. If not, just to try and find the Ice Rod to complete it, to try and find the bow. I think it's unavoidable. How about you?
Well, I think with what they have left, you have to go up there and you have to check, the extremely item dense, 20 plus items that are up here. If you clear Hera and you do, Spike Cave, and everything else, and you still don't have Ice Rod, yeah, I think it makes sense.
Unfortunately, we did find that flute, so we're activating that now. We get to hear the theme, as we like to call it, but I don't know. I guess we can complete Mystery Mire right now. We don't want to, but there are also 2 items in the shed that might be worth checking out right now. They're pretty quick.
It's a very quick check. Asa can also more quickly now check Ice Rod Cave. He can check a Gina's Cave if he wants to, try to clear some more overworld spots. But I given how fast that you can get back to those locations, I think it makes sense just to do the item dense Death Mountain first.
Fair enough.
So unfortunately, Bow and Ice Rod are really the 2 worst items that you want to need. Ice Rod, as we said, can be anywhere in the game except on Trinex and GT. Bow likewise can be anywhere except Armos Knights, Helmasaur, and 2 chests in Pod. And so there's so many locations that those 2 items can be. They're the worst 2 items. That the medallions and the Ice Rod and the bow are really like the trolliest potential spots.
Yeah, they can be. Bow and hookshot can also be a little trolly. It's a lot rarer though. Like those in GT, it causes you a lot of anxiety heading in there. But of course, we need the bow to actually get into GT, so we don't have to worry about that today. So we'll be getting our first look over here on the east side of Death Mountain. The favorite of pretty much every rando player, just because of how many items are over here.
So I think Jighart just has to get this the big chest here, and then he'll be able to go on the cold stair because he just did the iced tea room, got everything else.
Ooh. Well, we find our boots over here on the east side of Death Mountain. That's another item that opens up a few more item locations.
That's not too bad though. I mean, it does open up Bonk's Rocks and King's Tomb, but those are both really, really fast light world checks, more than made up for by the time savings that getting around fast gives you.
I would definitely rather find boots than not find boots. I can tell you that much.
Oh, absolutely. And there's also our first mail upgrade there in Paradox Cave.
Now upgrade. We got a shield upgrade. We got a fire shield now. What a great day.
All right, Jighart, you have an extra blue potion now, and you have a few more hearts, so should have no trouble here with this cold stare. I'm rooting for you, bud.
Just don't hug the puffs. I mean, they look soft. They're not soft. They hurt. Oh boy. Oh god.
Oh no.
Bug.
That's so tense because you can only take one hit with that health. That was a nice cold stare though.
Yeah, worked out. Jighart also getting their third crystal, tying it up a bit. As is finding the magic cape in the Hera basement, so that opens up a spike cave. Which is really convenient, because we're actually above that right now. Don't know if we'll be making time to do it quite yet, but down the line, perhaps.
Spike Cave might be a really nice check at this point. It's a good save and quit location, because you're essentially dead-ending yourself. He has the ability to start right back at the old man, and then hook shot across, and there's a full magic refill in Super Bunny Cave, so not even losing any magic.
That's a good point. Uh-oh. Slipped off the pegs there. It might be intentional, though, as we do not have the mirror. Get the death warp out of here.
Yeah, he's just standing there. That's a death warp setup. And so Jighart is going the pod as well. This is exactly where he needs to go now. Not many other options, but whether it's good routing or just lack of better options, he's going where he needs to go.
Yep, that lamp is just waiting for him on the pyramid ledge, but won't really be necessary. Still navigate your way through. Well,
true, and once he gets the flute in here as well, then he'll know that he has logical access to Death Mountain regardless of the lamp. Oh, never mind.
We're gonna get it. It's a little weird to take this route. I think starting from the south warp and heading up here is a little bit faster. Don't quote me on that, but maybe Jighart's kind of an autopilot right now.
Yeah, I think this is the route he took was faster if you only wanted to go to pod, but the entrance at 4 is definitely faster if you wanted to do pyramid. But he's gonna find this lamp, and I imagine he's gonna pick it up. Can't see skipping out on the lamp.
Alright, we'll Jighart head back to pod. Seems like it.
That might have been a let's do pod and a last minute change to do pyramid then.
Yeah, a little bit indecisive there, but
Ooh, Asa taking a Moldorm fall.
oof. Well, not the worst fall, thankfully, just barely.
Yeah, Moldorm doesn't feel like playing today.
I love the way he just bounces you all the way back to the platform.
So neither player taking what we know in hindsight to have been the optimal route of death warping in Eastern and then immediately going into Palace of Darkness.
I'm probably going to feel a little bit bad about that, considering how stacked pod was this time, but it's just what happens sometimes.
Well, Pod is as far as we know, it's a required double dip, unless we find the mirror in some place that wasn't locked behind the hook shot. This would have been a required dip.
I think the only thing we haven't really seen is like the purple chest and catfish, I guess.
Yeah, if the mirror or the bow is like on catfish or on purple chest, then pod could have been a single dip. But it's not looking too likely. And it's frustrating to commit to a dungeon like Palace of Darkness without the bow. So I don't blame either runner for putting it off.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Right, well, we do have all 3 medallions, so Turtle Rock was one of those 3. As strange as it sounds. Gonna be checking these 6 chests over here, though. See if we can find ourselves an ice rod, perhaps, before we go in. Okay, well,
That's an interesting find. That really changes the calculus of do we enter Turtle Rock. We can go get our other 2 crystals, but you're not going to find the ice rod. Like you would need it to be on Helmsor because we already have all the items in Eastern.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you still have to go on the Turtle Rock.
Nope.
I mean, you don't have to.
You don't have
obviously.
I don't feel like. Okay, so we come back here to the mountain and got our flute. I assume we're gonna go clear out Eastern Palace and Pod. But I do agree with you there that dipping Turtle Rock was not especially crazy at that point. So there's a lot of items in Turtle Rock. Ice Rod can definitely been there. Has been there more than once. So I guess. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say the only way that really like hurts you as much is if the mirror is somewhere in Pod and Ice Rod is in Mimic Cave or something like that.
Well, on that note, it actually would have made sense, I think, to do Pod before Eastern. Well, nah, Eastern first, because then you can more easily get back to Pod. But Chet was pointing out that there's actually 2 items in Pod, because there's one on the Bowlock, the right-hand side, as well as the last small key. So if either of those are, if that or the Helmsor item is the ice rod, then it would be go mode, but the odds of it are so low. I liked going into Turtle Rock because you were up there already. The argument for skipping Turtle Rock is I have to climb the mountain again, but if you're already at the entrance, it's a little bit, I don't know.
I guess potentially this way you save yourself having to walk through Turtle Rock again. I don't know. I could see either one of those being very valid.
Well, my question for Asa is going to be, if you don't find the ice rod in one of these 2 last locations in Pod, like, are you going to go back to Turtle Rock then? And if you were, then it didn't make sense to skip it. But if your plan was like, if I don't find the ice rod, I'm going to start clearing pendant dungeons. Well, in that case, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a few somewhat quite overworld locations. We have the Bootslock locations, and we have the Mire Shed, which are all very quick to check, and there's 4 items between those, so...
So Jighart did the potion glitch, so we'll get to see one of these bow-locked items right now, as soon as he finishes these mimics. So most people are probably familiar with this glitch by now, but if anybody isn't, the way that works is you use a potion while you're walking left in the room before the mimics, and it locks the camera position, so you can, by holding the wall, you can actually move the red mimic off the screen, which counts as a kill without the bow. And we do find the bug net was our item over here.
Well, Bugnet, very underloved item, but not too useful in this scenario, sadly.
So that's only Helmasaur left as our hope for the Ice Rod, and making this Turtle Rock skip play pay off. Jighart, I'm gonna activate that flute, and then I imagine do all the Death Mountain stuff.
Most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if Jighart also goes to the Mire Shed. I really like just checking those while you can, because it's really quick and all that stuff, but we'll see.
Well, Jighart has done more of these overworld checks. Like, he went to, do a Gina, check the desert area, Ice Rod Cave. So, he has an inclination, I think, to be a little bit more thorough with the overworld. He has been avoiding the dungeons, so Mire would make more sense. That may also mean Jighart's disinclined to dip into Turtle Rock as well, if he's been, predisposed to checking overworld spots.
Yeah, I think the bow just really threw a wrench in that, because I think Asazas had every intention to go in Turtle Rock until they found the bow. Jighart just coming here to Death Mountain right away. Very understandable. This is a ton of items up here.
Well, I was in one of Ace's earlier races. Let's see which note was this one. So I interviewed him in his first race with Zeal, which was in his last bracket, and it was an incredibly close race. They were basically in sync, getting the GT big key in the title room. Asa won by only 20 seconds, and in the interview, he said that if he feels behind, he really starts making big gambles. So if he feels behind, looking at Turtle Rock, he might say, okay, that's the obvious play. I need to make a big gamble, and I'm just going to check somewhere else and risk. If the Ice Rod is in here, then I would have lost this match. I think it was less than an hour in. Might feel a little bit early to be making those types of big gambles, though.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't really like. It hasn't felt like anything that Asazas has done has felt like really desperate, like Jighart. I think Jighart would be the one feeling behind at this point, and they are, right now. But those are the kind of plays I see, and I think, okay, this is somebody who feels that they are struggling. They're doing this. Well, there's our Tempered Sword on Helmasaur King. That's nice. Especially when we know where the silver arrows are, and we just don't have the means to grab them quite yet.
Yeah, we may not get the mirror prior to entering Ganon's Tower. The mirror can absolutely be in Ganon's Tower in this seed. So, if you find the mirror in Ganon's Tower, unless I can't really imagine any scenario that you actually go back and get the silvers, even though they're right outside. I still can't see you getting them.
Yeah, I don't think at that point the time save's really worth it, because you have to grab them and then you have to make the trip all the way back through the mountain to get back to Ganon's Tower.
Well, I'm thinking, like, if you find the mirror while you're checking for the big keys, like if you find it before the big key, so then you mirror back to the entrance. Do you step outside, mirror, pick up the silvers, and then go back in?
Well, don't you have to jump off the ledge and then go to Dark World again and then get on the ledge?
Oh, you're right. You lose your portal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then forget the silvers. All right. Well, as a purely hypothetical, then, if you could keep your portal and it was only the time involved, would you get
Oh,
the
absolutely.
silvers?
If I could just run outside and grab those silvers, I'd do that every single time. Are you kidding me? So,
I'm grasping here. There's got to be some redemption. Oh, this is our first look at the mire shed, and really all we're looking for is the ice rod. What we don't want is the mirror or the book.
well, we didn't get any of those things, so. Now we're just running out of locations. We have Turtle Rock and we have like Spike Cave and some other one-off locations like Purple Chest, things we don't really want to check.
Well, the thing about Turtle Rock is, if the ice rod is in that dungeon, then it's not a double dip. You know, you can full clear it. All you have to do, you have to climb the mountain again. But if Jighart, goes in there and finds the ice rod, he's not losing any time versus Asa having already been there and having to go back up.
Yeah, it's true. Let's see here. This is a very tough decision we've had ourselves in. What is Asazas going to do? Looks like they might be heading into Turtle Rock and saying, yeah, guess we'll just take the chance, say it's here.
We've seen most of the available overworld locations. I mean, we can get into mire now. We still can't get into desert or swamp. So at least those are, two pendant dungeons that are completely not even an option at the moment. But there are 3 items in mire, including that green pendant.
Yeah, it's true.
I think we still have like the purple chest, like you said, and did Asa check the 2 boot lock locations?
I want to say probably, but I'm not 100% sure.
If he didn't check Kingston and Bonk Rocks, those would have been really fast checks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That would be pretty priority once you get those boots, just to get those out of the way. Because we haven't seen hide nor hair of the mirror, the graveyard ledge. You're not really worried about that at this point. You just want to get the ice rod and get on your way.
So I think Chad is basically saying that Asa did not do the Bonk Rock spots. He did Mire, he did Ice Ride Cave. They said he also missed Spiral Cave. So I don't know. Leaving Turtle Rock to check some overworld spots and then not checking the easiest ones before going back to Turtle Rock. Really interesting.
Yeah, that. Skipping the Blanc Rock location, just maybe it was an oversight, because those are very, very quick to check. It's hard to say, really.
Well, Jighart is going to get his his bow here in Super Bunny Cave, and his items in Hookshot Cave. So a really, really big play for him will be going directly into Turtle Rock. He's done more of these overworld spots already.
Yes. Now he's a nice golden.
Going into Turtle Rock, though, isn't going to actually help Jighart, because even if the Ice Rod is in this dungeon, he'll be able to full clear it, but Asa will also be able to full clear it, and Jighart will have to go get the pod and Eastern Crystals, while Asa will be, ready to go into GT immediately. I'm actually thinking that this being a required double dip and Jighart not coming here would be the best option for him. But he's going in.
All right. Yeah, this is an understandable play. It's we're just looking for the ice rod. The ice rod can absolutely be in Turtle Rock. Turtle Rock does have quite a large number of items inside of it. So I understand it. It's just gonna be unfortunate if the ice rot's not here. But Jighart might be feeling... Oh, God. Jighart might be feeling behind just from all these one-off checks that didn't pay out.
Well, I think that coming in here when Jighart did is probably the best possible play. But, you know, like, based on the runner's perspective. And I also think it would have been good if Asa had come in here initially as well. At this point, though, having the ice rod be in here would be the worst outcome for Jighart. Jighart needs it to be somewhere else so he can catch up some time and have it be in an odd location. Having it here would be great for Asa.
Yeah, you're right. That's pretty much Jighart's one chance to come back, is if the ice rod is not here and it's in the place that Asa spends a lot of time avoiding, but Jighart goes right to it. That would even things up pretty nicely. We did find the book. That opens up a number of other locations this ice rod could be. So we'll see if that's the story it's trying to tell or what.
That's our slow desert palace access, and that's also the Bombos, not the Bombos tablet without mirror. It's Ether tablet, and without the mirror, that's also a really inconvenient spot to get to.
It is. It is very inconvenient to run all the way around the mountain for that one location, but it might be required. Who knows? But we are coming up on the moment of truth here. Let's see if this ice rod is in fact here or if it's elsewhere.
Well, we have 4 chests. One of these has to be a key. So there's at most 3 items. I haven't been counting what dungeon trash we found so far.
Well, we found the book. That's the only thing I really noticed.
I don't know if these are map and compass are going to be here as well. There's a map. So we're down to 2 chests. Down to 1. All right, last chance for the ice rod. Oh, don't delay us. Asa building suspense. Oh.
Well, I guess if the ice rod's locked behind the book, still, this does require double dip in that scenario.
Well, now I think the worst place for the ice rod to be is Mimic Cave.
That would be a pretty mean one, yeah.
Exactly. Oh, now at least doing the boot spots. Oh, if we find the ice rod right here, this is just going to be devastating.
If we find the ice rod in one of these boot locations, that's going to be kicking himself in the butt with boots. That's for sure.
It'll be great for him. He'll still be able to maintain his lead, but it'll be emotionally frustrating.
Yeah, he will not feel good about it. Okay, well, avoiding the worst.
All right,
Where do we go next?
Coming out of Turtle Rock, Jighart is probably going to do Eastern and Pod. That seems to be the obvious, even though there's only 1 item in there. For all he knows, it could be the ice rod, and he has to get those 2 crystals. So that seems pretty obvious. Asa, I think all the book opened up is Ether and Desert. He just doesn't have Bombos, so he doesn't have Mirror, so he can't do Swamp or the Bombos tablet. And we talked about how bad Ether is to get to.
Yeah, I mean, there's still the potential it could be on Sarashla and Meyer, which are not something you hope for, but things that can happen nonetheless.
Yeah, Meyer was already open to him, but that's definitely an option. 3 items in Meyer, including that green pendant, but the 2 in Desert are much quicker to check.
Yes, absolutely. If we find the mirror somewhere in these dungeons, it could even be on pedestal, this ice rod. In the worst case scenario.
I still think the worst case scenario is going to be a Mimic Cave. But, because they'll check every other spot before that.
Yeah, potentially. I would agree with you there. I guess the good thing if it is on ped, we have the book, we can figure that out really quickly without committing a whole lot of time. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Okay, well, that's it's gonna be go for this. This is 1 hour, 19 minutes, about 40 seconds.
Yeah, not good for Jighart. Jighart needed it to be really hard to find, and for him to get lucky and go there immediately. That's like I said, good mode for Asa, and Jighart still has to find that as well as pick up 2 more crystals. So Asa has been dominating in the brackets. He went 2-0 versus Machinex in the 128, 2-0 versus Zeal in the top 64. So, he's undefeated in the brackets. With this much of a lead, should have no trouble very quickly clearing this dungeon. And then Ganon.
Yeah, and that Tempered Sword, even though we don't have the silvers, Tempered Sword's more than enough for Ganon. Though the C did pick a very funny spot to put it to taunt us.
So chat asking, did Asa lose at all? Jighart actually had the advantage in the Swiss rounds. He went 6-1 in Swiss, while Asa went 5-2. So he does have 2 losses in Swiss. One of those was against Smoke, who ended up having to leave before getting to the bracket stage. I don't know who the other loss was against. But they actually have the same loss record. Jighart lost in his 64 bracket, so they both have 2 losses and 9 wins or 11 wins.
Funny enough, the other person that SSS lost to in the Swiss stage was the person he 2-0'd last round.
Oh, he lost versus Zeal?
He did. He lost versus Zeal in the Swiss, but then brought it back. It's a funny coincidence, that.
Yeah, Zeal had a really good run himself, going 2-0 versus Mally.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jighart is making a good play, but the wrong play. These are 3 items here in Mire, including the green pendant. He knows he's going to have to go back to Eastern and to pick up that crystal, and he knows there's only 1 item left in Eastern, so he's gambling that that's not the ice rod, and he's correct on that gamble, but he's wrong on where the ice rod is. So he's just adding more time to his deficit at this point, unfortunately.
It's just how it goes sometimes. But I think Jighart's just feeling behind, and at this point, just making little gambles where they can to try and get whatever time they can make up in their pocket. But it's just too little, too late at this point, I believe.
Well, he didn't fully commit to Mire. He didn't go clear Vitreous for the pendant. He just got the items and left. And he's going into desert now, so this is going to get him his ice rod. But Asa is going into GT while Jighart still has 2 crystals left.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to take something catastrophic, like a crash and progress loss or something like that. I guess there's a really unlikely scenario where this has a ton of trouble in GT, but I don't expect that to happen.
It is guessing game time.
Right.
You want to do the honors?
There's 22 locations in Gan's Tower where the big key can be guess in chat now. If you've donated 250 bits or subscribed to any Speed Gaming channel, and you get it right, you're the closest. Go on the leaderboard. Leaderboard's completely meaningless, but it's the leaderboard. Your name will be there. People will know you were right this time. So go ahead and get your guesses in. What's your guess today, Tiro?
Well, I just got to point out, there's people who love this guessing game and have their finger on the keyboard ready to hit enter. The first person to pick their guess today was Ravis 10, who's the current leaderboard winner, and he did pick number 10. It's just funny because last race I saw, I beat him to 10 and I won. So I just got to give him credit for that.
Oh my gosh, there's the mirror.
So I'm gonna hope for number 10. In apologies to Ravis.
All right, I guess we'll go with that. I mean, I've already seen 2 chests, but I'll just default to that choice as well. What a mean spot for that mirror too.
Ooh, number 6 or 7. I said 7.
Yeah, I think as us were thinking about them, realized we can't actually get those.
Oh well, sorry Ravis, it was 7 this time.
Lucky number 7. Jighart just gonna check the pedestal, I'm not sure why.
Triple bombs in the pedestal. Nobody guessed 7. Closest guess is number 8. With Splash Heiligen.
Well, congrats to them. Surprised nobody picked 7. 7's just one of those numbers. It's a lucky number. I think everybody would pick that. That and 21. Now we face the gauntlet.
Yeah, I actually think the mirror being in Ganon's Tower was really nice because it did let them skip Swamp Palace as one of the potential places to search, and it saves you having to death warp or walk out of GT to get back to the entrance, which is always awkward to do.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice to find that in GT, just because it locks out so many spots that you're not required to check. But it's just me because of where the silver arrows were, I think.
That's a good point. We will have to ask Asa. Was he trying to think of a way to get them? Because he just kind of paused there for a minute.
Oh boy. I'm not sure if I should be blaming the mirror or the silver arrows for that one, all things considered. We'll let the scholars figure that out 100 years from now. Who's in the wrong, the mirror or the silver arrows?
I'm gonna blame Spectacle Rock.
Well, did Spectacle Rock tempt silver arrows? Is that it? Did it seduce the silver arrows?
The ancient geology that made it a cliff versus an easily accessible plateau.
Oh, well, we are a little low on magic, but we should have enough to get through this room, I would think.
Yeah, there's 2 small magic pots, and one of them is right here, so all you need is 1 fire rod shot. And there's a full magic refill here next room.
And we don't need anything at all. We know where the silver arrows are, they're not in GT. So we're just going to power on through. Not button anything to these other chests. Tempered sword's just fine, thank you.